Well, hello, subscribers and friends. Tomorrow is Halloween, so being Halloween Eve, I'm going to rank Halloween films, um, starting from John Carpenter's Halloween all the way to Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Um, First off, Halloween, the 1978 John Carpenter film. Um, what can I say that's not been said? It's a classic film. Um, there is not, there's no, in my opinion, there's no mishaps or bad scenes or anything. There's not really anything in that movie that I could nitpick with. Maybe a couple little details, but other than that, it's a pretty one of a kind film. It started. It didn't. I know there was slasher films, or somewhat slasher films prior to this, but this is what led into the slasher genre. Um, and then when Friday the 13th came out, it became a whole other thing. But yeah, Halloween, in my opinion, gets 5 stars out of 5. It's a very excellent film, well acted film. Not Jamie Lee Curtis's first acting job, but her first film. It has the late great Donald Pleasance as Dr. Sam Loomis. Um, you have various people who played Michael Myers in this one. Most notably, it was Nick Castle. So yeah, Halloween is and will always will be one of the greatest horror films in a lot of people's minds. Um, then we come 3 years later for Halloween 2, which is not directed by John Carpenter, but he wrote the script for Halloween 2. So we're in 1981. So this is actually shows at the end of the first film, which is Halloween. It goes right into the continuation into the second. And then you find out that Jamie Lee Curtis is her character. Laurie Strode is Michael Myers' sister. Um, you also have Nurse Marion from the first one shows up in the second one. Of course, Donna Pleasance is in it. Um, Halloween 2 came out the same year as Friday the 13th Part 2. They both so happen to have either a security guard or a cop getting a hammer in the head. Um, so Halloween 2, in my opinion, it's a good movie. It's not my personal favorite of the film series. Um, I would give it 3.5 stars out of 5. Um, I liked it. There's just certain things in the film that I could have not put in my opinion. Um, like let's say like the scene where the girl is in there by herself and she's talking on the phone, and all of a sudden Michael comes up and pops up and kills her. I mean it's a great kill and everything, but it's just really not really pointless to have it in the film. I did like the part where the little boy gets a razor stuck in his tooth and he has to go to the doctor to get it taken out because back then a lot of kids did practical pranks and put razor blades in the apples when they bobbed in there to get the apples out of the water or whatever. Um, so yeah, I mean Halloween 2 is not my favorite. I mean that's a lot of people's favorite. A lot of people did like Halloween 2. I like it. It's just not my favorite. So then we go on to Halloween 3, Halloween 3, The Season of the Witch, which is the only film that does not have Michael Myers in it. Now, a lot of people, when it originally came out, were unsatisfied and not happy because, Michael Myers had been in the first two films, so they go on and do a third. Well, John Carpenter wrote this, he didn't direct it, but he wanted to do original stories um, based around Halloween. Um, box office didn't do too well, so that was scrapped. Um, this Halloween Season of the Witch came out in 1882. By this year, it happens to be its 35th anniversary. Um, Halloween 3 has some great acting in it. You got a great villain, Cochran, and you have great actors Tom Atkins, Stacey Nelkin, um, and you'd have Dick Warlock, who had played Michael in Part 2. He shows up in this one as an assassin. Um, Halloween 3, I would give 3 stars. I like the movie. In my opinion, yeah, I mean, I guess they could have put Michael in it, but in reality, I think it was a pretty good film um, on its own. So if you ever wanted to watch a Halloween movie, you could just watch 3 and skip the rest, or you could watch 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You know, so you've got different timelines. I'll get into that later. And then we go on to 6 years later. We have Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, which was 10 years after the original. And Michael is now being played by George Wilbur. Donald Pleasance returns. Jamie Lee Curtis is not in this film. You find out that she had a daughter, Jamie Lloyd, played by Daniel Harris, and that she abandoned her. Supposedly, in this film, you find out she died, and Jamie Lloyd was given to the Lloyd family, adopted in the Lloyd family, and so you find out later that she really didn't die. Jamie Lee Curtis's character, Laurie Strode, did not die. Halloween 4, I would give 4 stars because it returns Michael, of course, and it's 10 years later, and Sam Loomis is trying to get captured Michael. A lot of people at the end of the second one, Michael had got his eyes shot. He was shot at from his eyes, and then he blew up, and then he was burning. So yeah, I mean, in this one, he's in hospital. He's got wrapped around his eyes, and he burns all over his hands. So yeah, I mean, Halloween 4: The Return of Michael Myers was actually a great film. I give it 4 stars. It's got some great acting, great action. Uh, Too bad the storyline for 4 went into 5, but it's not too bad. So then, 1 year later, you got Halloween 5: The Revenge of Michael Myers. So that's 1989. So you got Halloween 5: The Revenge of Michael Myers was actually a pretty good film. A lot of people don't like it. It's the worst of the box office records. And throughout the film, you see a guy walking around with a trench coat on, and you have steel-toed boots. You find out who he is in the following film, but I was okay having something like the mysterious character walking through the film. I would give Halloween 5. I would give it 3.5 stars. I actually liked the film. Like I said, a lot of people didn't like the film because of some of the crazy stuff that goes on in the film. Like supposedly the Michael Myers house was not even really the house; it was some other house that they could get. But obviously, the budget or whatever, they just did not make it. You find out that Michael, after end of 4, he gets shot. He goes down this little well, and then he comes back, and it's been a year later, and now this old man is blind is helping him out. And then you find out that Jamie and Michael are connected somehow. But yeah, it's not that bad. So then you go. So that would have been 1989. 6 years later, you get Halloween: The Curse of Michael Myers, which was originally going to be called Halloween 6: The Origin of Michael Myers. This is somewhat the dark black sheep of the Halloween series. Um, this was the first one I personally saw in the theater. I actually enjoyed this one. Michael is really pissed off in this one. You find out he um, is captured by he somehow like druids, and he was Jamie Lloyd was captured and had Michael Myers' child. Tommy Doyle from the first one comes back into this. Sadly, this was the last appearance by Donald Pleasance in the series. Um, and you find out who the guy with the trench coat and steel-toe boots is. So yeah, I mean, Halloween 6: The Curse of Michael Myers is pretty much all over the place, but it's got some great. I like the blood in this. I like how Myers is really he's really pissed off in this one. Um, I wish that the producers cut. A lot of people when it came out, it was released theatrically. There was a lot of scenes that was cut out. So back in '95, early '96, basically the only way that you could see the producers cut is through a bootleg VHS. Now, recently in the recent couple of years, you've been able to get the producers cut on Blu-ray and DVD without getting a bootleg that has been in the process for years. But anyway, I would give Halloween 6: The Curse of Michael Myers. I would give this 3.5 stars as well. I personally, this like I said, the first one I saw in theater, I really enjoyed it. Um, there were certain things in the movie that the theatrical version doesn't make any sense, especially the ending when Donald Loomis is sitting there screaming. You don't know what's going on, but if you watch the produced cut, you actually do see what's going on. So, so then we go to 3 years later. You have Halloween H2O 20 years later. Um, so it's 20 years after the original movie. Jamie Lee Curtis has come back to the series. Before I go into this, the actor who played Michael in Part 5, Don Shanks, did a really great job. And then George Wilbur comes back for the sixth film. Um, Chris Duran played Michael in this one. So basically, you find out that Laurie Strode didn't die, um, even though her daughter from the previous film, six, who was in 4 and 5, she dies in 6. So this one, she's a teacher for Academy, and she has a son. And Michael has come back 20 years later to get her. I give this 4 stars. I like the being like 20 years later and um, bringing back Jamie and all the actors in the film. Other than Michelle Williams, because I really don't like her as an actress. But you got some great scenes in it where Michael's chasing after her son, and all of a sudden you first see Michael and Laurie face to face looking at each other. So yeah, I mean you've got that, and um, yeah, at the ending of the movie, a lot of people who have not seen this movie, um, I'm gonna spoil this, so if you don't want to see this, stop, pause it now, fast forward, whatever. But yeah, the ending of the movie with Michael touching her hand, and she ends up cutting his head off. A lot of people were shocked by that. That could actually have been the end of the series if they wanted to end it that way. That could have been the end of the series. But since the box office made so much money, so it was not bound. It was bound not to be. So 4 years later, you get Halloween Resurrection, which was actually supposed to release in 2001, and she didn't really kill Michael. It was actually a paramedic where he had crushed his larynx and so on and so forth. Halloween Resurrection is the third film I saw in the theater. So this year marks its 15th anniversary. Um, to be the final of the series, it's okay. I mean, you do get the conclusion of the Laurie Strode character, and Michael kills her. You don't know anything that happened to her son. Um, and he pretty much goes back home, and they invade his house, and it's all on live on camera. So yeah, I mean, I would give this 3. I mean, just for the simple fact is that, this, sadly, this would be the last Halloween film that we actually get. Even though there is a new one coming out next year, which does not involve any of the from 2 all the way to 8. So yeah, it made its box office. So it's been 15 years since they've made one. So then you fast forward to 2007, which was 10 years ago, and the introduction of Rob Zombie's Halloween. I didn't see this in the theater. I've only seen it 2 times. Hold on 1 second here. I turn my heater back on. It's getting cold here. One thing about living in Kentucky and Ohio, you got to deal with the cold weather around this time. Anyway, Rob Zombie's Halloween. I didn't see it in the theater. I've only seen it 2 times. The main thing is that the reason why I do not watch Rob Zombie's Halloween on Halloween Day, and I do not own them, is because it's not John Carpenter's Halloween. And yes, I understand that it's his own version, his own vision. But it's just, I didn't care for it because they made Michael turn into more like a Jason. I mean, in the earlier films of Michael Myers, he was like in the shadows and he was hidden. And I know that 4 and 5, he does hide a little bit and he comes in and kills. Well, it's just in this, he's just like, one track mind, straightforward, and just kills. There was actually pretty much a lot of nudity in this, even though there was some nude scenes and Halloween. But Michael Myers, the Halloween franchise itself, was not notable for having a nudity. Jason, on the other hand, is it's more like more nudity and gore, and Jason doesn't care. But in this one, it seemed like he was more. He just the way they portrayed the guy who played Michael Myers. I have nothing against him. It's just that they played him making more like Jason, and a lot of people mentioned that there's like tons of cussing in the film. The first half of the movie, you see Michael Myers as a kid and his family, and you find out his mother is a stripper. I mean, in the original Halloween, you didn't see any of that. So to me, as a horror Halloween fan, it's like, okay, so his dad is an asshole, and his mom is a whore, and his sisters are whores. It didn't bother me as far as cussing and that, but I don't know. And of course, Rob Zombie he has a different taste than other people. If you watch House of a Thousand Corpses, The Devil's Rejects, his most recent film 31, Lords of Salem, he's got a different taste on films. But to me, Rob Zombie's Halloween, I'm sorry to people who do enjoy that film. This rating is just what I'm going to give it. I'm giving it 2 stars, which would be fair. I do like. The only thing I can say that was interesting about the film is that they showed a lot of backstory. I like that part of it. I just don't like the part that the backstory that they created. Let's see. Another thing that really got to me is that Rob Zombie's Halloween was a reimagining, reboot, a remake to a classic film, and for Daniel Harris to come into the film, who had played in 4 and 5, which was part of a series. That actually nothing against Danielle Harris. She's done a lot of great films, and for her to come in there and it's an acting job. She got paid to do it. Um, it's just knowing that they were making a remake, so they brought somebody from a previous movie in the series into the film. Okay, whatever. So then we hop in 2 years later to Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, the last film released until the new one next year. Um, I've only seen that 2 times as well. As his first film, I do not own it. I did not see it in a theater. Um, I give this 1 star. A lot of main reasons for that is the dream sequences. At the end of the film, Michael Myers talks. The way Dr. Sam Lewis is portrayed. Malcolm McDowell is a classic actor. I know he's doing a job, but um, to turn Sam Lewis into a money hungry asshole that it doesn't give a damn about chasing Michael Myers and he's just more about the money. I mean, I don't knowing the Halloween series, and I'll get to this in a minute. There's like a bunch of different timelines that you could go with this film series. But yeah, and a lot of I can understand a lot of a lot of the flashbacks and the unicorn and seeing Michael Myers' mother and Laurie Strode's character has all these different things. I can understand all that. It's just I didn't like it, and there's certain people out there that do enjoy Halloween too. I'm not one of them, but it is what it is. So, before I go into the new film that comes out next year, I would like to go into the timelines of these films. So, you have 1 and 2, which continued into each other, and you could end it there. So you got a timeline of 1 and 2, and you can end it. Or you could watch 4, 5, and 6, which is all part of a timeline. You have Jamie Lloyd's character in it, and it pretty much goes into each one. And then you could either watch 1, 2, and then Halloween H2O and Halloween Resurrection if you want to add that. Because of continuations from the 2nd into the 7th, into the 8th. And then you have a timeline where you could go into Rob Zombie's Halloween and Halloween 2. Or if you wanted to go into... so let's say you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then coming up to the new one here. So next year will be the 40th anniversary of Halloween, which also is the 30th anniversary of Halloween for the Return of Michael Myers, and the 20th anniversary of Halloween H2O. So being that it's 40 years since the first film, John Carpenter has come back to executive produce and compose the film. And Blumhouse is releasing the film. It is scheduled for an October of 2018 release. And this is, from what John Carpenter has said, this is the final Halloween. Well, we've heard that in the Friday 13th, to say Friday 4 was the final chapter, Jason Goes to Hell was the final Friday. So basically, the only way that Jason and Freddy and Leatherface and all these other characters could actually end is when the companies and the movie distributors and they do not want to release any more films, and nobody wants to see any more films, by saying, well, it's been 15 years, maybe we should do another one. Well, here's my thing, okay? If this happens to be the final Friday, unless it makes money, and when something makes money, how Hollywood wants to make another film. If this is the final one, in my opinion, it's interesting to have the first one with John Carpenter and the final one with John Carpenter, even though he's not directing it, but he is involved in it. it's bittersweet in a way. The fact remains is that this movie is going after the end of Halloween 1970. Not the end of Halloween 2, but the end of Halloween 1978. So it's going to be 40 years after Michael Myers has been shot and Laurie Strode has been around. So, and that Michael is no relation to Laurie Strode. So that in turn, like I said, you could watch Halloween 1 and 2 and 8, or 1 and 2 and 7 as a timeline, or you could watch 4, 5, and 6 as a timeline, or you could watch Halloween 1, 2, 7, and 8 as a timeline, and then you could watch just the Rob Zombie's Halloween and Halloween 2 is remade as a timeline. And now, since the Halloween, the new film Halloween's coming out next year, you have a timeline of Halloween 1 and then the new Halloween movie. And parts 2 through 8 is just its own, is never happened. I'm glad that Jamie Lee Curtis has come back into the film. I'm glad that John Carpenter wants to be involved in the film. Blumhouse is releasing it. So he has some great track record for films. All I can say is this is like a kick in the pants to all the horror Halloween franchise fans that you've made 8 films, if 10 films if you want to count the 2 Rob Zombie films. You've made 8 or 10 films, and that you just want to say that none of those happened, and there was no Jamie Lloyd, there was no. I'm guessing they're not going to say anything about her son from 7 because they don't want to involve any of the other films. So I'm assuming they're not going to mention anything like that. But not and having all the and Halloween franchise is a great franchise. I like a lot of the films. It's just the way they've done the series is it's crazy. I mean, you've got so many different timelines that you could watch. And in one, you could just watch Halloween 1 and Halloween 3. You know, that's another one. But, you know, to know that 40 years ago, it was from Halloween all the way to this new film, and no mention of it. You know, I mean, I understand what they're doing, and I understand that Michael Halloween series has been around 40 years. It's just, you know, I would much rather see Halloween 9 to conclude the series. But, you know, it is what it is, and our fans of the Halloween series have just got to go on and try to enjoy the series as a whole. So basically, this has been my ranking of the Halloween movie franchise, from John Carpenter's Halloween to Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. I hope you enjoyed this. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and leave comments below. So yeah, before I end this video, I seen that I had 184 subscribers. That's really interesting and great. Only been on YouTube for 3 years now. I wanted to reach 200 by the end of the year. Don't think it's going to happen, but to have 184 subscribers and to get the views, I don't get a lot of likes on my channel, and I get somewhat views, but I enjoy doing this, and I'm glad that the ones that gave a thumbs up or have commented or do view this, I like it, appreciate it. So I'm going to end this here, but I will catch you on next week when I do Friday the 13th, episode 6. The Great Montaro is the episode, and I might do another video like this. I might do the Nightmare on Elm Street rankings, or Child's Play, or Leatherface. So thank you for just sitting here and sitting back and enjoying me talking about the Halloween series and how I rank them. And I will catch you on the next video. And you everyone have a great and happy holidays. And later.